Hey, Marc, Millan here. Glad to connect with you today. And today I'm covering chapter 8 from a book I've written called Leading Worship, 10 Simple Truths. And in this chapter, I tackle the reality of criticism and praise. And for anyone who's a worship leader, anyone who's in front of people, if you have a leadership role, actually, we deal with both of these. We're going to have to receive feedback. Some of it can be critical and some of it can be encouraging, but either way, both of those have a certain amount of power. So chapter 8, it's called Fear of Man is a Trap. And of course, fear of man is a term used in the Bible. So let me read the scripture that I chose to kick off the chapter, talk about it a little bit, and then leave you with a couple of questions. This is the book of Galatians, chapter 1, verse 10. Obviously, I'm not trying to win the approval of people, but of God. If pleasing people were my goal, I would not be Christ's servant. That's Paul talking. Paul had an interesting situation because he was one of the people who was against the Christian movement when it started. So he was for the law. He was one of the top ranked Pharisees. The Pharisees trusted him. So when Jesus resurrected and all this Christian movement started, Paul was empowered by those who kept the law intact to go shut down the movement. And then Paul has an encounter with Christ that changes his life, and then he starts preaching the gospel. Well, guess what happens? Paul now has to go convince a bunch of people that he's kind of turned sides, and he's dealing with this everywhere he goes. He's not only dealing with the Jewish people who were still living under the law, trying to understand what had just happened, but now he was preaching to the Gentiles who really had no idea who God was. And he was going into circles and environments that people were just not willing to receive his message. So he had his work cut out for them. I think when we're leading worship, we kind of have our work cut out for us too, because people come to our church services, to our gatherings, and they're going to be impacted by the music, and we are kind of like that vessel through which the music flows, the songs flow. But quite honestly, we're just there to serve the Lord and serve the moment, help those people connect with God. And so here's what I've discovered over the years that I've been doing it. You can sing a song that people love, and guess what? People love you. And then you sing a song that people don't love, and guess what? People don't love you anymore. And there's something about the power of music that makes people kind of really personal. It takes out their preferential ideals and their specifics on what they like and they don't like. So you could find yourself, if you're not careful, in a place where a person or people start to come to you with criticism, and it can really become discouraging. I think you know what that feels like. I know what it feels like. You've worked, you've prepared, you've rehearsed, and you poured your heart into something, and then you run into somebody in the lobby and they go, hey, you know what would be great if you guys did this other song, because I don't like the songs you guys are doing. And it's like so deflating. On the other side of that, you can do a song that maybe you liked, maybe you didn't like, and someone comes up to you and they do the opposite. They go, oh my gosh, that song was so powerful. It impacted me so much. Thank you for singing it. And that can be kind of tempting too, because then you kind of like, this feels good. And so I think the criticism has a certain weight to it. And on the other side, I think praise has a certain weight to it. So how do we deal with criticism and praise? And that's what I kind of talk about in the chapter. I'm going to give you a few questions because I pretty much tackle those thoughts in the chapter. But here's a couple of questions at the end for your thought. Does the opinion of people have an extreme effect on you? And I put extreme because I think that's what happens. Criticism can have an extreme effect. It means it pulls me out of my center and really, really discourages me, so much so that I want to quit and never do it again. Or sometimes that praise can have so much power that it could kind of almost like, I hope I never disappoint this person ever again. I really, did you like it? Did you like it? What did you think about it? Yeah, I start seeking that from people. So does the opinion of people have an extreme effect on you? And here's another question. Do you feel freedom when leading worship, or is it fear-based? And I think that's the key. We have to get to the place where we're not leading from a place of freedom. In other words, I have to free myself of people's opinion of me so that I could serve the Lord appropriately. And it's like what Paul said in the beginning in Galatians. He said, if I was trying to please people, I would not be able to please God. And I think that's true, because you just don't know what people like and don't like. And quite honestly, what they might like today might be what they don't like tomorrow. And sometimes it's not about what we want, but about what we need. And really only God knows that. So as worship leaders, we're tasked with trusting that God's going to lead us in the right direction to give people what they need. And as long as we serve with a humble heart, if we get criticized, we take it with humility. And if we get praise, we take it with humility, because we know we are serving the Lord, and we do this for His approval above all. Does that make sense? So I hope that helps you today. Until next time,